Almost everyone watched Jay-Z become famous, but very few people understand how he became a billionaire. This is not a music story. This is a case study in ownership, deal structuring, brand leverage, equity stacking. Jay-Z didn't just make money. He built a portfolio of scalable assets across industries. In 1995, major labels rejected him, so he co-founded Roc-A-Fella Records. This decision is the first major difference between Jay-Z and most other artists. The typical artist path, they sign a deal, they do some shows, and they might get some publishing. Jay-Z, his path was he created his own label, he owns his own masters, and now he gets to control his distribution, which gets him to keep his equity. He turned himself from an employee into a platform owner. The business principle behind it: start as close to ownership as possible. So then what he did next, he turned his fame into a scalable business. He launched Rocawear in 1999.
And I know I was selling a lot of clothing for these companies. And I would go to them like, we should work out a deal. I think I'm affecting your business a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you should work with me. You know, we could work together, do some ads and things like that. And they was like turning me away. Like, I don't think they understand.
The key strategy: use music marketing to sell physical products. In 2007, he sold Rocawear for $204 million. The important details most people miss: he sold the clothing company, but he kept the brand rights, which means he still profits from licensing today. Here's the deal structure lesson: you sell an asset, you keep the brand. This is a classic private equity styled exit. And we all know Jay-Z's not the one to be famous, so he started learning the corporate strategy by becoming the president of Def Jam Records.
I like to say that the inmates running the asylum now, you have to let people infiltrate the system in order to correct it. You have to get in there. People that's outside of the system have to get inside the system in order for it to be better, in order for...
X was at Def Jam, but then he became the president at Def Jam. Hov was up there running the show. So X was in the hole over there for about a good 8 million, at least. So I was like, all right, cool. So shit wasn't working with it, but he wound up being the president. So I went back in and I was like, yo, hold, let me holler at you for a minute. So me and him, we got a good relationship. He was like, what's up? I said, you know what? This ain't working out for him, boom, boom, boom. Let's see if we can switch and move him somewhere else so we can get him from over here, because he don't really feel like comfortable here.
At Def Jam at that point.
He didn't want to be at Def Jam at that point. So we talked back and forth from that point, but you know, you can't really go, because wherever you go, you owe all this money, you still owe this money.
You still owe that 8 million, definitely.
That nigga wiped the whole shit out. He ain't had to pay nothing and let him go. Straight like that.
Why this matters? It's because he learned corporate deal structures, industry economics, executive leadership, and negotiation at scale. This phase gave him boardroom credibility. He was no longer just a talent, and that was important for him to be respected as a businessman. He became an operator.
I tell people all the time, never fight against the future. The future's coming.
Now, word up on Madison Ave is Jay-Z's a cash cow. These are the billion-dollar moves most people didn't know he was making that separated him from other rappers. Instead of endorsements, he demanded equity deals.
I try to. Sometimes it's just more about relationships. I pretty much try to work with brands if there's some sort of partnership there. I don't typically do a one-off endorsement deals. I've just never been interested in that. It's just more so if I can create some sort of partnership. You know, the Coca-Cola was a partnership. You know, I was a brand manager, as you know, acted as at one time. So I pretty much look for partners, you know, as opposed to one-off endorsement deals.
Jay-Z invested early in Uber. That small investment led to massive returns. This shows he began thinking like a venture capitalist. And although he was making a lot of green, there were still certain companies that only saw him as black. So he decided to partner with Armand de Brignac and got rid of Cristal.
Yo, you want to know a funny story about Jay and Ace of Spades, though?
Let's go. Come on.
What's crazy with Ace, because growing up, I always knew like Puff and Hove and all of them for like
Cristal.
Cristal. They was promoting Cristal, right?
On your record, you said.
Right. So look, when I first came out, like I'm like, Cristal by the cases, or maybe that was racist. I would prefer the Aces. Ain't no different when you taste it. Like I ain't know Jay owned Ace of Spades.
Let me ask you something, because let's just drop the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
At one point, you were the owner.
Oh yeah.
Can you explain that? Can you tell us? That's
Ace is I got my future and my past. So some
this
of the
is your future. This is your past.
Yeah. So Ace was my first brand.
How?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything you're looking at is that brand.
I never tasted Aces.
So take a sip of champagne.
Yeah, this is some good shit.
Yes.
The key move here, though, was he didn't endorse it. He owned it. Later, he sold 50% to LVMH. That luxury partnership equals global distribution plus credibility. Now, if I do say so myself, the joint venture with Bacardi was brilliant because that was structured as a 50-50 partnership. Alcohol brands scale globally.
Just got back to the crib, got a package from my brother Jay. Oh, dang. Sheesh.
And they produce recurring revenue. This is a classic celebrity equity play done correctly. And for his passion project and to protect the artist, he acquired Tidal.
This collaboration feels so egoless. Everybody's having a conversation. We really do have an opportunity to change the way we all experience art.
We're gonna come together and we're gonna take a stand and we're gonna give people quality and great things and great experiences.
As a tech company that's selling advertisement or selling hardware, right now they're writing a story for us. We need to write the story for ourselves.
Later, he sold majority stake to Square, which is now Block. And that was for another major exit. Now, Jay-Z has a lot of moving parts, so now he needs a holding company. And this is where the Empire Hub goes into Roc Nation. This company manages artists, manages athletes, produces tours, and does brand partnerships. This is a modern entertainment holding company. Think of it like a mini conglomerate. So it's no surprise he was getting to that money. But how did he actually reach the billion? Jay-Z used a strategy called capital stacking. Music to clothing, to liquor, to tech, to investments, to a holding company. Each success funded the next opportunity. Most artists earn, then spend. Jay-Z earned, invested, scaled, exit, and then reinvested. He moved from income to equity to exits to a portfolio.
Booster ignition and lift off.
Now let's not forget about this cultural power move, the NFL deal.
I think we've passed kneeling. I think everyone knows what the issue is. And we're done with that. You know why we were kneeling? Okay, do you know the issue? Yeah, do you know the issue? Yes, we all know the issue now. Where are we moving on next? And I'm not, again, so to be clear for the room, I'm not minimizing that part of it because that has to happen. That's a necessary part of the process because the kneeling was not about a job. It was about injustice.
This is one of Jay-Z's most important deals of his career.
You know, Jay-Z got hated when he cut the deal with the NFL. What y'all hating on Jay-Z for? Jay-Z making moves y'all don't know nothing about. Y'all sitting over here in your little punk ass life. You ain't got shit going, but you steady knocking somebody that's out here shaking and moving.
In 2019, Roc Nation signed a long-term partnership with the NFL. Most headlines framed it as Jay-Z's just helping produce the halftime show for the Super Bowl. That was the surface. The real deal is much bigger. The official role, Roc Nation became the NFL's live music entertainment strategist. This includes producing the Super Bowl halftime show, but also consulting on music and culture and advising on social justice initiatives. This also helped shape the NFL's public image because the NFL had major brand problems. The younger audiences started drifting away because of cultural backlash and trust issues from the NFL struggling to connect with modern music and culture. They needed credibility and cultural relevance, and Jay-Z provided both. So this is where Jay-Z's brilliance shows in his business move. The NFL is the most valuable sports league in the world, a multi-billion-dollar media machine, and one of the world's largest entertainment platforms on earth. By partnering instead of protesting or competing, he moved inside the system. So the real business value? This deal gives Roc Nation, 1, access to the largest stage in entertainment. The Super Bowl halftime show is the most watched music performance in the world. That means Roc Nation now influences which artists perform, which brands sponsor, and which partnerships happen. That's massive leverage. 2, relationship with the biggest advertisers on earth. The Super Bowl is where global brands spend their largest marketing budgets. Now, Roc Nation sits in the middle of that ecosystem. That leads to brand partnerships, sponsorship deals, and future business relationships. 3, long-term cultural power. Music plus sports plus advertising equals cultural dominance. You control the media, you control the narrative. Jay-Z positioned Roc Nation as the bridge between all three. Now, why this deal is genius strategically is because he didn't buy a team. He didn't start a league. He brought influence over the platform. That's cheaper, safer, and more scalable. This is the key empire economics lesson. Ownership is powerful, but influence over platforms is next level. Now that he's thinking like a venture capitalist, it's only right that he starts Marcy Venture Partners. But here's some of the hidden moves and why it matters more than people realize. Most people think Jay-Z stopped at music, liquor, and tech. But this is what they miss. Roc Nation quietly became a marketing and distribution engine for major financial companies. This is a huge power shift. The real play? Banks and fintech companies have one massive problem. They struggle to reach young consumers and minority markets. Financial institutions, they need trust, they need culture, and they need audience access. Jay-Z already owned all three. So instead of building a bank, he did something smarter. He positioned Roc Nation as a gateway between finance and culture. So what does this really look like? Roc Nation has partnered with major banks, credit card brands, and fintech companies for co-branded financial campaigns, financial literacy programs, credit and fintech marketing initiatives, consumer finance partnerships tied to music, sports, and events. And this is why it's genius. Financial companies pay massive marketing budgets to acquire customers. And Jay-Z controls artists, athletes, fans, concerts, cultural influence. He became the customer acquisition funnel for finance. And this is why it's so strategic, because it puts him inside one of the most profitable industries on earth. Finance has recurring revenue, long customer lifetime value, and massive marketing spend. So instead of selling products, he sells access to audiences. This is a classic empire move. Move from products to platforms to pipelines. And why most people miss this? Because it's not flashy. There's no product to point to. There's no bottle to pop. There's no app. It's deal flow and partnerships. But in the business world, this is where the real money lives. Now we know Jay-Z been still spending money since '88, but here's where his capital firm launched in 2018. And these are the finance companies that helped him connect the dots to becoming a billionaire, because he often works through venture funds and equity deals, not public brand endorsements. And this is where the finance industry connections really live. Now Jay-Z jacked, he robbed, he sinned. He's known as Jackie Robinson, but he's also known as one of the early investors in Robinhood, a Fintech investing platform. It's one of the biggest, lesser known moves that he was making. And why is this huge? Robinhood reshaped stock investing for younger audiences. Massive overlap with Jay-Z's fan demographic. It fits perfectly with his financial empowerment positioning. This is a strategic, cultural, plus financial alignment. So instead of just endorsing finance, he invested in the companies reshaping it. And this is exactly the type of move you'll learn to appreciate. Jay-Z told you he was trying to give you $1 million worth of game for only $9.99 through his music.
Yeah, because you got all that in the music for $10.99. That's a bad deal. I wouldn't tell you to cut a bad deal. Like, take the $500,000, go buy some albums and listen to the albums. It's all there. If you piece it together and really listen to the music for the words, for what it is, it's all there. Everything that I said was gonna happen. Everything that I said I wanted to do, I've done.
And I'm giving it to you for free on my channel. So make sure you subscribe to Empire Economics and click that like button. So next, we're going to talk about financial literacy and banking campaign partnerships. Roc Nation has collaborated with banks and financial education initiatives through financial literacy programs, wealth education campaigns, community banking partnerships, and credit building initiatives. These don't always show as flashy press releases because they're often campaign partnerships, brand collaborations, and community initiatives, but they signal something important. Jay-Z is positioning himself as a bridge between finance and culture.
We tend to, as black people, because we never had anything, which is understandable, we get to a place and we just think we separate ourselves from the culture. You know, like with OJ get to a space where he's like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. You know, like Tiger Woods would get to a space and think I'm above the culture.
Now, Jay-Z's financial literacy banking collaboration is one of those lesser known moves. In 2020, Roc Nation and TD Bank launched the TD Bank and Roc Nation Financial Empowerment Program. It was a multi-year partnership focused on financial literacy and underserved communities. This wasn't just a simple endorsement. It was a strategic corporate partnership built around education, access, and brand positioning. So what did the program actually do? 1, it offered free workshops on budgeting, credit building, investing, entrepreneurship, and home ownership. They targeted young people, artists, and minority communities. 2, they had a nationwide financial literacy tour. Roc Nation artists and executives helped promote events and content. 3, they gave grants to minority entrepreneurs. TD committed funding for small businesses and minority-owned startups. 4, digital financial education hub, online resources, plus webinars to scale initiative nationally. So here's why Jay-Z did this, the real business strategy. This deal fits Jay-Z's long-term strategy perfectly. 1, for reputation arbitrage. Banks historically struggle with trust in minority communities, and Jay-Z provides cultural credibility, trust transfer, and audience access. And TD Bank provides capital, infrastructure, and regulatory expertise. This is a brand trust as leverage. 2, strategic positioning in fintech and banking. Jay-Z has repeatedly shown interest in fintech, credit access, and financial inclusion. This partnership positions him close to the banking system, close to the future fintech deals, and inside the financial infrastructure conversations. It's a relationship building deal, not just a one off campaign. 3. Influence without regulation risk. Starting a bank equals heavy regulation. Partnering with the bank equals influence without the risk. This is a classic Jay-Z move. Own the relationship, influence the industry, and you get to avoid the liability. 2. Acorns, a micro investing app. Another key fintech investment. Acorn helps users invest spare change automatically. Now, why does this matter strategically? This connects directly to financial literacy, wealth building for beginners, and young investors. Jay-Z is positioning himself inside fintech that helps everyday people invest. That leads to strengthening his credibility in finance. 3. Square, currently known as Block. This is the title acquisition. This is a massive finance connection people overlook. Block Incorporated, formerly Square, was founded by Jack Dorsey. When Block bought a majority stake in Tidal in 2021, Jay-Z didn't just sell the company. He traded into equity in a fintech giant. Block owns Cash App, Square Payments, and financial services infrastructure. So this deal quietly moved Jay-Z deeper into fintech and digital payments. This is an industry shift move. 4. Pipeline building. Financial literacy to entrepreneurship to startups to investments. Teaching finance creates future founders, future investors, and future partners. He's literally helping grow the next generation of deal flow. So here's what you can learn. Ownership beats income. Build assets, not paychecks. 2. Turn your brand into products. Attention equals monetization. 3. Learn corporate skills early. Experience multiplies opportunities. And 4. Take equity over endorsements. Equity scales. Endorsements expire. And 5. Reinvest wins into bigger plays. Every success should fund the next. And here's something I could tell you with my own personal experience of working with Jay-Z and Def Jam. Everything Jay-Z did, he did with intention. So when you planning out your next moves, make sure one step leads to the next and the next leads to your best.